at the very beginning of 100 Years Quest, there was a big question, obviously, of who would the enemies be, who would the antagonists be. We were introduced, obviously, by the second chapter about the dragon gods, but obviously, there's five big boss characters can't fill up the entire adventure of adversaries for the main cast to fight. And at the end of chapter 5, we were introduced to Kiria. Not entirely, we were just kind of shown, obviously, her character. We weren't even actually shown, like, the full crest of Diablos before that chapter ended. And it wasn't until the next chapter that we found in her name, we found out about the Dragon Eaters, 5th gen, and we were, opened up to that aspect of the adversaries in the plot. Kiria has been an entertaining character. I mean, she's been part of the main Diablos trio since her introduction. Obviously, she was the first one. And I mean, overall, I've enjoyed her. Mishima has done some good things to keep her character from feeling as one-dimensional as I feel like she felt for a good chunk. Not necessarily a bad thing, considering she's never felt like the big focus of the group. I think she's arguably the weakest out of the Diablos members. You can say like Mad Mole and her, because it's like one is gonna have way higher defense than offense. Mad Mole, I imagine, it's a very specific fight. Same thing with Kiria, but I mean, like, I feel like with Kiria's higher offense and not so good defense, considering like defensive capabilities, like their durability of a Dragon Slayer is like their best stat. So her, who seems more offensively focused and way less defensively focused, though makes sense. It's like one of those dangerous double-edged sword trade-offs for your type. But Kiria has been, like I said, she's been a very prominent character. She's introduced, obviously fighting people like Lucy and Urza, and a lot of people figured she'd be more of an enemy for Urza, but it turns out she was more of an enemy for Lucy, which is really cool. Obviously showing Lucy's growth. You get a really good fight between the two of them only a couple chapters ago. Well, unless this is like, watch this way in the future where like it's like 150 plus chapters or whatever. But Kiria has been, like I said, she's been fun. I've liked her. I've liked her general introduction. Obviously, this crazed sword fighter woman, just this arm-bladed dragon slayer ready to slice and dice anything that comes across her. Though, like I said, she initially just felt like she was only that character. There's been two additional things that I think have done really well to improve. There's been the small aspect we've seen recently of how she respects Misaki, and Misaki is like a teacher-esque character to her, which is good because it shows that there's a part where that, calms down, is a little bit more humble and respectful and listening. It, again, makes her feel less like a psycho mad dog. And the other one is how her, newfound love of Laxus shows, that more human side to her. It's something I always liked about Urza. It's like, despite Urza's like crazy capabilities and strength and stuff, you put her in front of Jalal and she's gonna get all, schoolgirl nervous and whatnot. I think it's good because it makes Kiria feel more like a person and less like just a caricature of a, crazed slasher. Because like when you see stuff like some of her scenes, especially like when she went to go try and attack Celine, it's like you're playing into your character, but your character right now feels like only attack and regardless of logic. Granted, I mean, she's a little bit reckless there, but I mean, at the same time, it's just like, how did you think you had any chance there? Regardless, again, it's something that keeps her from feeling like a one-dimensional character stick. She has some aspects to her that make her actually feel somewhat more like an actual individual. She's got some of the most humanizing aspects of Diablos, which is cool. I think the only one that right now, at least as of recording, that doesn't have too much to her is Misaki. Regardless, she actually is like the most Dragon Slayer of Diablos currently. Because like the weird thing with Diablos members and the Dragon Eaters is they don't have conventional Dragon Slayer named attacks. They don't have, whatever dragon's something attack. Kiria has the most. Like when you look at something like Suzaku's aren't any of that. They're all in his Kurenugi sword drawing style. You have like Skullion. Well, like Skullion's best move is Black Ash. It's not even called like Corpse Dragon's Black Ash. There's just way more for Kiria. Like Kiria has a multitude of attacks. She has like a couple that are, outside of that naming convention thing. You got our hypnosis stuff. But for the most part, she's got like her Blade Dragon's Tearing Roar, Double Rending Slash, Tearing Slash, Overlord Slash. She's even got a secret art with her Blade Dragon Sword Dance. Like I said, she's got a pretty sizable arsenal. And it's really funny because I thought that like Mishima was only doing that initially, and then like since we got away from it, like maybe 5th gen was going to use more singular attack names and not Dragon Slayer attack names, but that like she she's pulling out new stuff like her Overlord slash during her fight with Lucy. So I don't really know what's going on with that. We haven't really seen any of the other ones kind of go about that normal conventional naming style. Like, does Suzaku have a Dragon Slayer secret art, or is it his Black Blade Purgatory slash? Who knows? And Kiria, I'm hoping she comes around, because like as of right now, again, this is as of right now, like recording, she hasn't done anything malefically evil. She's done bad things, but it's all kind of in line of like people that they see as enemies and stuff for their mission. None of the Diablos members have just been like crazed villains, just like murdering civilians or anything for fun. So later, if we can get them more on the fairy tale side, I think Kiria would be a fun ally, because she's one of the ones that always wants to fight, always wants to just skirmish. But you know, a lot of people are probably, there's going to be some characters that are going to be like, sure. And then probably a lot more people are going to be like, no, I don't want to fight you. Stop asking. And then there's the obvious thing with her and Laxus. I actually think that they have the most logical ship. There's going to be some Laxus and Mir fans mad at me, but it's like when you look at Kiria's personality and then you see how that like lines up with like how Laxus is, and then like the progress of the old Laxus to the new Laxus. And you have that guy who's obviously very powerful. He's learned from his, you know, hunger for strength and stuff in the past, and now he's at the state where he knows he's powerful, but he knows like emotionally that he has like this weakness to him that he needs others for, and he acknowledges it, knows about it, makes him stronger. I think that's pretty good. You know, it shows a lot of maturity for it, but obviously like connecting the points of like where he's come from and where he's at now. I think Kiria having that kind of crazed fighter kind of mentality, but then that sudden kind of switch with Laxus, only because like Laxus is both strong, but his ability to recognize his own weakness is something that I think perfectly lines up with Kiria and like how Kiria is. So as of right now, I will say like Kiria, she's not the best Dragon Eater. I like her. I think that she is, especially after the fight with Lucy, she's definitely one of the ones I find more fun. And I know she's taken a lot of losses. She only really has like the one win against the people at the beginning. I mean, you can count it against like Wendy and Lucy, but it's like we know that if it wasn't for the hypnosis that Urza would have beat her. But obviously like that is an ability of hers, so it is fair. I don't really think it requires a character to win in order to be a good character, as long as, one, if they lose in a way that like makes them look bad, depends on the context, but otherwise, how do they lose? Like her against Laxus, I can't hate on her for losing Laxus. Same thing with Madame Mole and Scullion. There was no shot that they were going to be Laxus. Nobody thought that. Her first fight obviously did well. Her fight with her trying to fight Celine was definitely her worst decision, considering if Celine wanted to, she could have killed her. But like her fight with Lucy, I actually really enjoyed, because like I said, even in the small parts, we see aspects about her that again keep her more humanized. We see like the part where Lucy cuts her closed and Kiria gets embarrassed. That's obviously something that again shows a human side to her. Then Laxus shows up, shows more. But also like we see her go and, like for instance, back in Drasil, go for the mission. She went and destroyed the Lacrimic. Even when she was defeated, she still made sure to do what she was set there to do. Those are one things I gave Nibaru a bunch of props for, and I always give characters props for, who, even if they're in a spot to fight or they're losing or whatever, if they realize like, you know, they still have a mission and they got to get to the mission, very respectable. It's something that I always give characters points for. Just makes sense. If you're gonna lose, at least try and lose with some form of a victory game. You lose the fight, but you know, win the mission. Good. But outside of that, you have stuff like her figuring out a plan to, like, you know, hypnotize Laxus again, and then, you know, have him as a minion. That just showed her, like, even though she was in a spot where she was embarrassed and looking a little bit down, she wasn't just kind of giving up. She still had a strategy that she went about, and she was doing well against Lucy at that point, until Lucy was able to think of more of a strategy. Because the difference, obviously, between when you look at like Kiria and Mimi, a big thing between them is obviously the mentality and like how they attack. You have mostly from Mimi blunt force attacks, and then like Kiria's are like all slashing attacks, who she wants to eviscerate, lacerate, and dismember people like mid-fight. That's just what she does, where it's like, you're not going to get that from Mimi. But when you look at her and Lucy, Kiria's like all offense. She's all offense. She has like no utility. You can say like her ability to cut magic and stuff is utility. You can kind of give her that. But for the most part, her moveset is literally just attack, 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 attack. And someone like Lucy, who was super built around utility and strategy and combination, and just got into a bad spot with Kiria. And obviously, cutting water doesn't really do too much. By the way, like I said, I've enjoyed Kiria. I think that she is a character that I don't want her to die. I want her to stick around. I'm hoping a lot of the Diablos members stick around and we can see more of them throughout the story. Maybe like, they don't have to be, at the end of it join Fairy Tail, but I like them to be at the end of it allies that they would be able to contact. Like if Mishima ever did a next gen thing, we could see Diablos members maybe, years later and see what they're doing. Maybe, maybe Kiria could be one of the characters that does join the guild because of Laxus. Who knows? I'd be fine with that. Get it kind of a Julia-esque thing, but obviously not the same thing, to really kind of like keep her character around and see where her character goes. But I'm curious to know what other people's takes on her. I know obviously like a lot of people are going to bring up like the fact that she's like lost most of her fights. I don't think that really diminishes her character, considering I think that all of her losses have been in ways that either with Celine and Laxus I think made sense, or in the cases of like Lucy, I think I've really respected her as a antagonist, because even though she lost, she put up a really good fight and she was close to winning. So I think that's not a W for her as obviously in her record, but it's like a win for her as like being a good, more a good character, like more entertaining and more enjoyable character rather, because it keeps her from again feeling stale. She doesn't feel like one of those characters that was created and exists just to lose and hype up another character. Though she's gotten in a line where that process has occurred, it's not done in a way that makes her feel like that's her only existence. It's more of like, this is just the point where that's going to happen to her and this is her role in this scenario. So yeah, tell me your comments about Kiria below, and what your thoughts about like where you want her to go. Would you like to see her again? Like obviously we're going to see her again in this arc, but like after this arc, would you like to be a point where it's like, oh, they run into Kiria, like maybe Kiria and some of them come visit Magnolia or something. It's not like a hostile at all. It's just like they just kind of came to like see the guild and be allies. And then, I mean, I guess at that point, Kiria could challenge something to a fight, because that would just make sense, I guess, for her. Why would she show up and then do nothing? I feel like that would just be one of those things that'd be like, oh god, she's back. She just wants to fight people again. And be like, hey, just take a seat. I'm sure somebody will fight you, but like, let's just calm down. You want a drink? You want some water? You good? You hydrated? But yeah, Kiria, like I said, good in my book. I've been waiting a lot for the main trio to kind of get those scenes where I can give more of a, like where I can give a character video on them like this. Obviously, we don't know their whole backstory. I don't know if Kiria got, like, when did she eat the dragon? Where was she from? Did she know Misaki beforehand? There are questions there, we don't have the answers to, but I think Kiria right now is a good example of like how much I would like before doing a doing a content video on it. Because like, so look at like Madmole and Scullion. I have some stuff on Scullion, but I have little to nothing on Madmole. Madmole has done very little since he was introduced. He is more the funny one in the group. I don't put that against him, but I'm hoping that at some point we find out, we get more of a display of him. I really am hoping to get like a battle with him, find a little bit more about his personality and stuff. But for right now, we got Kiria, and I think Kiria did a pretty good job, and I'm hoping she sticks around and does more in the future. She doesn't have to be, getting these big focus fights. But if we can see her maybe, just be in a fight, maybe a group fight, and she's just helping, like maybe like an attack comes towards Lucy and Kiria cuts it, and it's more of a respect thing. It's like, well, you beat me, so I gotta at least give you some props. I think that'd be really cool if we can get something like that. I think that would also really improve her character, because it would show a respectable and more mature side to her. But anyway, other than that, comment below. And again, like I said, tell me your thoughts about her. And, have you enjoyed Kiria overall? Like, even though she's, lost most of her fights, does that diminish the character to you? Regardless which, thanks everyone for subscribing already. Thumbs up the video. And like, subscribe button. Check out my other videos. But I appreciate everybody started subscribing. And thank you all for listening. Bye. Bye.